Hello everybody! So today's video is going to be a little different than usual. Instead of bringing you through the entire build process, I'm just going to go through and explain sort of where we're at with the electrical system right now and how it works. I basically burned myself out doing this project, so it's important for me to just get the video out so that I can move on. So yeah, I'll just hand it over to myself. Alrighty, so I think I've figured out an okay way to explain the electrical system. So in the van now, I've got some regular outlets that you would see in a house. Each of these outlets is then connected to this power strip. This powers one of the outlets, and this powers the other outlet. So this means the surge protector is playing a similar role to what a breaker box would play in your house. And let me just point out a breaker box. So this is a breaker box, and when you want to switch outlets on and off, you just trip and untrip them. And that's very similar to the way that the surge protector is working here, except that when I want to disconnect the outlets, I would just disconnect them here. So this is where all our AC power comes from. Now let's look at the DC power. So we've got this fuse box, and this is our DC distribution block. So all of our individual DC devices are connected here. An example would be this. So that light is the garage light, and it's on this fuse. So this means that if there's a short in any of the wires, it'll trip this breaker instead of burning the wires. And here's where another familiar thing shows up. So 3 of these fuses go to cigarette lighter ports. So we've got this cigarette lighter over here, we've got one over here, and one over here. So this one right now is powering the diesel heater, and this one's powering my heated blanket. And this one I've been using for my heated blanket when I want it on the other side. I could also run the fridge off of DC if I wanted here. Right now it's running off of AC though. So if we come back here, we can trace a little bit further down. So let's hop back to the AC for a moment. So this is called a transfer switch. When I turn it to this side, all of the AC equipment in the car is powered by this inverter. When I turn it to this side, all the AC devices are being powered from the shore power inlet. And let's go look at what that looks like. So I'm very pleased to have this shore power inlet, and it's called an inlet because it's like an outlet, but instead the electricity comes in through it. And it buttons up like that, and then you pop it open and you plug it in. So when we're powered by the inverter, how does the AC get generated? So we can follow the inverter back to these DC distribution blocks, and those come back here to the battery. So the battery is connected to the whole electrical system via this switch and then this fuse. So if too much current starts coming out of the battery, usually because something is shorted, this fuse will trip instead of having all the wires burn up or having the battery burn up. So when we're on the inverter and AC devices are plugged in, power is coming from the battery. And when we're running our DC devices, power is also coming from the battery. So how does power get into the battery? So there's currently 2 ways that power gets into the battery. One is from this AC charger. And importantly, this AC charger is plugged in before the transfer switch. And what's important about that is if this was plugged in here, then when we were on the inverter, it would create a loop where the battery powers the inverter, which powers the AC charger, which is charging the battery. And there's efficiency losses in each one of these. So every time the electricity goes around the loop, you lose more battery. So that's why we have an outlet here, so that we can have the AC charger before the transfer switch. So the other way that we're getting power to the battery right now is from the DC to DC charger. So come with me up here to the front and I will show you the charger. So it's under this seat here, and I'll pull up some footage to show me putting it in. Importantly, we've got a fuse here, so if more than 80 amps comes through this circuit, it'll trip. And then importantly, I can come in here and I can reset it. So this is very similar to in a breaker box in a house. And so when the engine is running, the alternator gives power to the DC to DC charger, and then electricity comes from there all the way down back here into the distribution block and then into the battery. The last way of charging this is going to be from solar, but that'll be the next electrical project. The last thing I want to call out is this. So this is called a smart shunt, and you can see the negative terminal of the bus bar is connected to the negative terminal of the battery through this. So all the electricity that flows through the battery, either in or out, also goes through this shunt, and that connects to an app. And I'll just walk through and show you a couple of the sources. So right now we're charging off of shore power, and we can see we're getting 180 watts into the battery. If I turn this off, we can see this will go down, and it goes down actually below 0 because there's a little bit of parasitic draw from the inverter. And so if I turn this off, we can see it'll go down all the way to 0. And I find this to be pretty fun because we can go around and we can actually look at how many watts each one of the devices draws. So let's take a look at the lights. So we can see this light is about 9 watts, maybe 10 watts. Then we can come over and we can turn this light on, which is very fun. It's a touch light. Ooh. And that's up here. So that's another 8 watts. And we've got some lights up in the bed area, which I'll show. So the next big power sink are the AC devices. So if we come over here, we can see the transfer switch is set to the inverter. And now we can power some AC devices. When we turn on the dehumidifier, that's drawing a couple of watts. And then we can do stuff like turn on this lamp. And you can see the lamp is very efficient. And then we can turn on the fridge and watch that draw some more power. There we go. And then a lot of power is getting drawn by the electric blanket, so let's unplug that. And we go down to 10 watts. And then if we turn off this light, we should go down to 0. Very satisfying. So then we can turn on the AC charger, and we can see power coming in. And then let me show you the DC to DC charger. So if we just step into the vehicle and turn it on, the DC to DC charger will turn itself on and we'll start getting power from there. Emergency rear door ajar. Yeah, I'd say so. And so that's where we're at with the electrical system. So before we wrap up a couple of things, I'm going to show a couple of clips of one of the things that truly tested my sanity on this project. And then a little clip of me getting a van life Canon event out of the way. This goes on here first. What the fuck is happening? 120 volts. How did I fuck up? I'm hoping I just managed to wire them the wrong way here. Let's test the colors again. Red to black. This should be... What the fuck? Okay, well, I wired this one right and I wired the outside one wrong then. I tested this. I'm so confused. Did I put the red cable sleeve on the black wire? What the fuck is going on? Okay, so this is wired backwards. Okay, let's just see how fucked this all is. The whole fucking house is wired backwards. That is why you do not connect your neutral to ground. Wow. Happy birthday to me! Whee! Alrighty, so that's gonna do it. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye!